Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Florence Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. My name is Sally Wants. Whatever Sally wants, Sally gets. Yeah. And what I want is I want to open with Spirit of Life. I'm going to invite two of you to come up with his spirited version of Spirit of Life, and everybody else, put on your mask, come forward. We're going to sing Spirit of Life. Two of you. Don't be bashful now. Come on, let it out.
So please join in heart, in spirit, in soul, and soon, hopefully, we'll be together to sing it
Yes.
in one place.
Yes.
Spirit of life, come unto me, sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion, blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me. Come to me. Come to me. Come to me.
Oh, do it again, do it again. That was fabulous, two of you. Thank you so very much. Thank you, thank you.
I can't see when I'm
Oh,
here to
don't do
make
that. You have to put that mask on properly. So, good morning again. Good morning, good morning. Thank you, two of you. So we have a couple of announcements I'd like to share. We're recording this on Friday the 20th at 11 a.m. for your enjoyment this Sunday, the 22nd. Our Zoom gathering, Sunday the 22nd, will be at 5 p.m. and I think Dean Shrock will be with us to help deepen our understanding of his message today titled, Stop in the Name of Love. Also, Reverend Elizabeth is looking forward to meeting you on an upcoming tea time. She has 3 events happening on Zoom. The invitation is in the e-blast. The first one will be the day before Thanksgiving at 2 p.m. And I think it's going to be the perfect time for you to share your Thanksgiving with her and vice versa. So a nice way to kick off the holiday. Remember to visit our website, florenceuuf.org, and click on the calendar. We're trying to get that as updated as possible with birthdays and events, things that are happening in and around FOOF. So check that out once in a while. And next week we have Reverend Bonnie Anderson. She'll be with us on the 29th. So here amongst us, are there any other announcements that we know of? None? Okay. So I am going to invite Brooke to come forward, and I invite you at home to light your candle as Brooke lights our flame in the UU chalice as I share the following. Thank you, Brooke. The International Council of Unitarian Universalists has a monthly chalice reading, and this one is in honor of the welcoming of the Portuguese Language UU Alliance, and this was written from lay leader Daniel Faria. We light this chalice as a symbol of faith, hope, and love. To face the shadows, a chalice of light. To face inequity, a chalice of justice. To face falsehood, a chalice of truth. To face evil, a chalice of goodness. To face disharmony, a chalice of beauty. May your brightness, manifestation of the infinite light, bless our hearts, our spirits, and our lives. Blessed be. At this time I invite Catherine to come forward. We're going to share joys and concerns, and we'll be right back. So Catherine, I'm here to drop shells for you.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning. Yes, there are people out there. This is the joys and concerns section of our program. We drop a shell in the cleansing water for each person, each thought, and Sally's here for me.
I'm ready.
I want to start today with the part I sometimes overlook in the end, so I don't want to overlook it this time. For everyone who is alone right now, alone and unable to reach out for whatever reason, isolation, whether real or in the prison of our mind, seems very real sometimes. We forget that the essence of life is the same essence that enables birth as well as rebirth. The eternal life force changes the seasons and changes the emotional tide from overwhelm to peace. Even in your silence, we include you in our community of the heart, our collective declaration of the truth, with a capital T, that if our deep peace can occur in one of us, it is possible in every other being. And we affirm this to be so. Deep peace is inclusive, love is inclusive. Let's make our smallest move from this understanding. I have another shell right now for Maya. She sent me something this morning, and I want to make sure I include it. So I wish I could send you the 4 pictures. She did 4 pour drawings, you know, those acrylic pour drawings. And someone sent her the materials and she did them. They're just beautiful.
Oh, okay.
And so she sent them, she wanted me to know she did them, but she also sent something to read because this came to her while she was doing these. Grief, I've learned, is really just love. It is all the love you want to give but cannot. All of the unspent love gathers up in the corners of your eyes, the lump in your throat, and in that hollow part of your chest, grief is just love with no place to go.
Ooh, very nice.
Thank you, Maya. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience have anything, a joy or concern or anything like that? Okay. I have one little quote from Reverend Edward Vilhoen. When anchored in the spiritual values of oneness and kindness, we can successfully navigate these times, care for our neighbors, and inspire each other. And when one of us forgets the truth of our being, another one among us, through the bond of oneness, will undoubtedly remember for us. And so it is. Thank you.
Shall I drop a shell for everything else that goes unsaid?
Absolutely.
Okay, for everything else that goes unsaid. Thank you.
So at this time, I invite Brooke to come on up. She has a responsive reading that she's found in our hymnal that goes very nicely with our talk today. Brooke?
Nice to see everyone today. Okay, this is by Max A. Coots, and again it's 489 in our hymnal. When love is felt or fear is known, when holidays and holy days and such times come, when anniversaries arrive by calendar or consciousness, when seasons come, as seasons do, old and known, but somehow new, when lives are born or people die, when something sacred's sensed in soil or sky, mark the time, respond with thoughts or prayer or smile or grief. Let nothing living slip between the fingers of the mind. For all of these are holy things we will not cannot find again. Blessed be.
Blessed be.
Blessed be.
Thank you very, very much, Brooke. Very much appreciated. I love seeing your participation. That smiling face. So, recently, Dean Shrock was encouraged in a meditation to write a new book, which actually would be written by his greater being. At first, he found himself writing about virtues such as love and joy and wisdom, but was told not to give 100% weight to the positive, those positive ideas. The purpose of this reality is to grow from negativity. If you want to write about courage, for example, you also want to address fear, guilt, lack of self-confidence, etc. Life is messy. How do we cope and stay sane? Or ever achieve peace of mind? It is important to go inside, beyond our reasoning mind, for inspiration and direction in our lives. Today, I invite Dean to come up. He will share with us some of the information given him for his new book, including helpful ideas for moving forward at this chaotic time in human history. Dean Shrock.
Thank you, Sally. Thank you always for the invitation to speak with you. So as Sally said, the topic of my talk today is Stop in the Name of Love. I've spoken with you enough times, and I've been so fortunate to get to know many of you, and you know my strong interest in intuition, even with all of my scientific training, that there is another way to know truth and to get information that can be truly helpful in our lives. So in an interesting channeled message, I was working with a dear friend. I was very surprised pleasantly to be told that it's time for me to start a new book. I've actually meant to do this for a couple of years, but it never quite felt right. I was waiting for, I don't know, special inspiration or something. You know, when I wrote my first two books, they were very pragmatic, actually, talking about my work in mind, body, spirit medicine with cancer. And then also when my research concluded that cancer patients live longer because they felt loved and cared for, I was really driven personally to understand that better. I mean, it may sound nice on the surface, of course love would heal, but how does it really work? So anyhow, while I was given lots of information intuitively in writing those books, now I was being told this book would be entirely intuitive. And that was both very interesting and pleasing, but a challenge, honestly, to, ooh, boy, now I have to really open and be disciplined and listen. So in that process, I was told to think of when I make my driftwood birdhouses. And that surprised me, but the idea, it was explained further, was now through the words of this book. I was to show people how to build a home for their hearts. And so I thought, well, maybe that's okay, because if I didn't understand that at the moment, is if I was going to be driven intuitively to do this, it was just really more a matter of listening. So anyhow, some of you know, and I appreciate your participation in this, that I went on Facebook. I have quite a number of friends and appreciate being out there and able to share in so many ways our friendships that way. Anyhow, I decided to ask a question, and it was, what makes a house a home? And within 2 days, I had about 200 replies. And I thought you might be interested in, so what were the replies to this, along with then the message I want to give you today, and why I'm titling this Stop in the Name of Love. So anyhow, it won't surprise you when by far the prominent response in what makes a house a home was when you feel loved. A place where you feel loved and comfortable and safe and filled with pets and memories. So as Sally said in introducing me, I found myself writing about virtues and love, wisdom, joy. And interestingly, as you mentioned also, Sally, it was said that not to, though, focus just on the positive. And as an example, if I were to write about courage, I was also to address guilt, lack of self-confidence, fear. So then I decided again, and with the suggestion also of my greater being coming through this channel session, to go on Facebook again and ask, how have you gone from lack of self-confidence to courage? And again, I got a large response, and I thought I would share some of that with you as well, briefly. And by far the first one was by letting go of fear, which then helps you become more self-empowering. By becoming angry about what is, and a determination to change and recreate my life. By taking baby steps. By accepting my vulnerability and humanness, and my resilience and understanding it, and that it's okay to not feel okay. Hope. Reading positive and motivational articles and books. Support of family and friends. Inner work to remember the truth of who I am. Faith. To ask for spiritual assistance. To trust. And again, something related to inner guidance and the use of one's dreams. So it's interesting that I have always talked about, certainly since I've been into this work for more than 40 years now, learning to use your intuition along with your reasoning mind. And it was really interesting to be told very directly in this channeled session that your new book was absolutely intended to direct people inside. And that all you need is right there inside you. And then I got to thinking about that and how in my work with cancer, you would get to work with people for a certain time period, if you were going through radiation treatments, a period of about 6 weeks. But then I got to know them more because they would come into the program I taught, which went on for another 6 weeks. And then I would hold these picnics and get to know them more and encouraging them to engage in life and certainly not withdraw from life. But of course, after a time, you would lose contact. And even if there were a significant time lapse, like a couple years, I would still get phone calls. And some of them positive, but as you can appreciate, my type of work as being a psychologist is usually people didn't connect with me because things were great, there was a problem and maybe I could help. So I remembered how most commonly I told people and reminded them from what I taught them in my classes to go inside. That of all the things I taught them, what really seemed to make this most sense and be most helpful was encouraging people to go inside and connect with their own inner wisdom. So interestingly, again, I'm being told now that's what's so important, and to do that again within this book. And then also I have an interesting announcement I'm very pleased to say, and I've talked with the board here at FOOF. Because of my strong instruction to encourage people to go inside, I was also told, though, that many of you will not have my experience or necessarily the inclination, motivation, knowledge, how to really do that. How do you really go inside? How do you pay attention and get that kind of insight and direction in your life? So with the board's blessing, I'm going to offer to do on Zoom through FOOF a class on how to do that, how to go inside. So this Sunday at 5 o'clock when we meet for our Zoom session, I'll be glad to talk with you more about that and maybe a good day or time to do this. And then, depending on the response, we will certainly do it and maybe continue to do this. So I appreciate that opportunity. So, for the past 2 months, I have asked my dreams every night, and then would get up in the morning and meditate, asking for information for my book. Some of this I did share on Facebook also. And what was extra interesting to me is that we're normally in a dream, there's a real sequence, and then the challenge a bit is, okay, well, what does that mean? You know how far from reality they can seem, and then what does it really mean? But what I found is that I was getting words or phrases, and not through my normal songs, just there would be a word. And the first one was ecstasy. And, you know, I'm paying attention, I'm going to write this down, I'm going to meditate on it, but I thought, what an interesting word to get, and honestly, was that real? You know, did I really hear that? Did that come through that way? So what I found myself doing was actually going through, God bless the SARS. I even had 2 copies of the SARS, and I would open it up and get a sense of the word, not just go to the dictionary, and then even the antonym. So I'm going to share with you and why I think I was given the word ecstasy to start all of this. So here's the definition of ecstasy: joy, bliss, enthusiasm, inspiration, the best attainable, ultimate, purity, perfect peace and happiness, heaven, profound well-being, transformed state of consciousness, oneness, truth, absence of negative mental states and emotions, loving what is, being fully present, which were also then things I started to think about in the meditation, including concluding for myself to reconnect with your divinity. Greater being is where all of your wants, needs, and desires are met by this connection with your divinity and greater being. And I thought, no, isn't that wonderful? A wonderful place to start, certainly, and then hopefully you find it meaningful to share with you why, in fact, you would want to go within. That you could reconnect with a part of you that contains all of this ultra good stuff. As I continue to do this, one of the next ones that really caught me by surprise too, but now it's catching on a bit, you know, maybe these words or little phrases I've been given are legitimate. I'm not just making this up, even though it was a new experience for me. So what would you have done with bless your blessing? Bless your blessing. So I looked up blessing just to start with, you know, well, what would that mean? And so I'll just share with you my conclusion through this. Be grateful for your origin, your spiritual nature. You are completely safe and loved. So this was really becoming exciting for me. I didn't know really how I was going to put this together in a book, but I was very pleased with myself. I'm really every day asking my dreams, every day meditating and taking all of these notes. And then soon thereafter I got You're Not Alone, that God, divine consciousness, angels, spirit guides and friends, inner wisdom, there's always guidance and support, no matter what, no matter what. And so I thought to share with you one example. You know, I have so many stories from all of the people I've worked with and all of the horrible things people have gone through, certainly dealing with cancer, but much more. Anyhow, this one that stood out for me, and I'll tell you why, was a woman who, her life was really messy. I mean, from childhood, maybe that's not so surprising. We can all have messy childhoods, and even that can continue through our lives pretty well. But hers really stood out that way, and I enjoyed working with her because I was able to actually help her think about that it's okay to have fun. You know, life doesn't always have to be this drudgery and trauma, and in her case, having the most unloving, ungrateful mother, even though she was always constantly working to help and please her mother. So in a session we did after a time, and we went inside and she connected with her inner wisdom, which is really how I like to do therapy. Here's what she was told. You chose on purpose to experience unconditional love. You chose on purpose, and what was called, or the term used given to me, the pre-existence, to come and have this lifetime with your mother, that no matter what, you were going to express unconditional love. And of all the times I've done this, that one has really stood out for me, how, and I think part of really truly the message I want to share with you today, we need to really look at a lot of what may seem awful, awful, awful is this blessing in disguise. And that it is helping us fulfill something we really chose to come and do, or otherwise redirect our life in a way that will have much more meaning and hopefully bring us much greater health and happiness. But then my messages started to take a different direction, or at least it seemed very different for me, because of being told and given truly sometimes virtues to look up and think about. But along with what I've already told you, was the first one that started this new direction was the need for clean water. So again, I'm thinking, is this real? Was that really the message? But then it went on. In another dream, I was shown about the destruction of mining practices. And then I was told about, in fact, in this time, what I did, because that one really got my attention when I started to think about the disregard for Earth and its properties. It was actually a very soulless approach to caring for, or not caring for, the Earth. So I honestly decided to get in touch with the energy of the Earth and just see what would come up. And it was really interesting to feel angry, sad, depleted, withdrawn, and the idea that this was no longer acceptable. And then came the song. Even though for 40 years I've been getting these songs, I'd never gotten this song before. Stop in the name of love. And so I think all of us can think back in our lives. I think it was the Supremes.
The Supremes.
The Supremes. But anyhow, I've shared with you before how my intuition works in these pieces of songs. It's like a whole other language for me. But that was extra interesting for me and meaningful because I knew this song had to be legitimate. The way it came through, and it wasn't something I'd heard recently or anyhow. So that really helped me give a little more direction in the message for you today. And that honest to goodness, along with being given information in another dream about the need to recycle. And some of these are kind of practical and pragmatic, and I'm thinking, they're not virtues, but I'm going to trust what I'm being given. So it just seemed to really feed into a big message for today around stop in the name of love. We really need to think about what's important. And I know with this recent presidential election, and even the day of and the day after, when there was even more confusion around the results, and even though I'd shared with you many times before, I knew this was going to come out okay, and this was one of those blessings in disguise for us to be given an opportunity to really think about what's essential. I think that's a huge message that we can think of from, I think, a very healthy perspective of this virus, about really truly thinking about what's essential. And then it reminded me of my work in cancer again, and when you're first told that you have cancer, believe me, you're not thrilled, in my experience. And we can think about in so many ways, whether it's with this election and virus or getting cancer, how do we get into this mess? And it can be very, very confusing, to say the least. But that's when I want to come back to the channeled messages and what Sally said. Say that 6 times.
Yeah, say it.
Sally said earlier in introducing me, the purpose of this reality is to grow from negativity. And I've been told this before, and I've certainly thought about it a lot, but is that really necessary? I really have asked myself, and even asked these spiritual figures I communicate with, isn't there a better way that we can learn whatever it is we want to learn? But was told that's what you chose, and it is the circumstance, the way the human experience operates, that you learn through experiencing what you don't want, how then to more appreciate and get more of what you do want. So it's like the idea of what's good without bad. Do you understand honestly that without experience something negative, you can't really fully appreciate what's positive? And so what I learned in my work with cancer is that where initially, again, you're not happy about being told you have cancer or having to go through that either as the person diagnosed or as the caregiver. But what I found, and not just in my work, but others like Bernie Siegel and others who promoted more of a psychological approach to dealing with cancer, was that cancer could actually be, through people reporting back after it would take at least a year, maybe two, that cancer was the best thing that ever happened to me. And they found this to be true in a story I've told before about living in Cleveland, Ohio many years ago, and a tornado came through Cleveland and was really devastating, just horrible. And I usually say how the media makes sure you see the worst of it. And people honestly saying this is the worst thing they could even imagine happening. But honestly, 1 year later, truth, the media interviewed people again who went through that, and now these people said what originally was the worst was now the best thing that ever happened to them. And so though I found myself enjoying and teaching my classes to ask people, what in the world happened? How could, in 1 year, people go from experiencing what they called the worst to now be the best? And so I would get many responses you might imagine, including what brought people together. But in the end, what I was convinced was the greatest purpose value and why people could now think so positively about this experience is because it helped people reprioritize their lives and got to thinking about, one day I really am going to die. And then I enjoyed, and I use that word carefully, but I enjoyed then being able to ask people, how do you want to spend the time you have left? And so now, given all of the craziness that we've gone through relative to the virus and the destruction of our planet, pollution, just so many horrible things we've been doing, please stop in the name of love. And I want to say something further, because I was told a long time ago, I had a really unique experience in working with another psychic friend, and I shared this in my book, Why Love Heals, in a conversation with John the Baptist. And John said, humanity's spiritual values are the lowest they've ever been. It's time for humanity to quit taking and to start giving. High men will be brought down to their knees. Civilization will become more harmonious. It's a time of purging and healing. So please, stop in the name of love. Thank you.
Dean, that was fabulous. It's always the mark of a good message when I sit there and take copious notes throughout the whole time. So thank you very much. For me, what I got was reprioritize my life, connect with my inner wisdom, and reconnect with divinity. So thank you. And I look forward to talking with you more, Dean, at 5 o'clock on our Zoom call. And I invite everybody here who's watched this already to think about the message and come forth with some questions and maybe open yourself up to what are you going to do? The Zoom thing you want to do with in the future, is it how to go inside?
Right, and we will actually do it.
Okay.
You want people to literally do it and see how to do it.
All right, so we're going to have a little practice session at 5 o'clock.
Oh, you want to do that on Sunday?
Oh, no, that's not what you're going to do. That's what it will be.
When we actually do it, if people are interested in doing it.
Got it.
Okay, sorry.
Be there with Dean, 5 o'clock. He'll explain it to us better than I just did, okay? So, again, thank you. Always appreciate your message. You know, I keep looking at ways that I can talk to you virtually about our offerings. You know, everybody, every week, we always ask for your financial contributions. I found this on our UUA website, and it goes like this. The purpose of a church is to encourage all who gather to grow more generous in spirit and in action, and to bring the human closer to the divine by acts of creation and compassion. Those are beautiful words. It goes on to say that we now take an offering that allows us to exercise that all-important generosity of spirit, an offering that will support this self-supporting church and its many ministries. At this time, I invite Tuvia to come forward. Tuvia is our link to the Florence Habitat for Humanity, and he would like to share with you his vision of Habitat for Humanity, because it is our community partner for November and December. Tuvia?
Thank you, Sally. Imagine what it would be like to be homeless in this time of such crisis. I can tell you that during the past few years, being linked up with the Habitat for Humanity family, people know and understand and realize the need. So Habitat, one of the things that Habitat for Humanity is doing is trying to work with the city for zoning and for being able to build housing for seniors and those who are less fortunate. Your donations are really needed, they're really appreciated, and will help to make the world a better place. Thank you.
Thank you, Tuvia. I saw on TV just recently, Jimmy and Rosalind Carter going to build their 10,000th house. I don't know how many houses they have helped build. But you see this former president and his adorable wife holding hands one way and a hammer and a screwdriver in the other. That's Habitat for Humanity. So think about that when you think about giving to that organization. So you can submit your offering to FOOF or your contribution to Habitat. You can mail it to our P.O. Box 2502. You can hand it to me personally, and I'll put it in my safe pocket, the one on the left. 2502 in Florence, 97439. Or you can hit the donate button on our website, and there's an opportunity to donate to both organizations. You can tell us how much you want to FOOF and how much to Habitat, and we'll take care of the rest. So as we move forward with this offering, I invite you at home and you here present to repeat after me. Divine love through me.
Divine love through me.
Blesses and multiplies all that I am.
Blesses and multiplies all that I am.
And all that I give.
All that I give.
And all that I receive.
All that I receive.
I am prosperous now, blessed be.
I am prosperous now, blessed be.
Thank you. Please know that your contributions are received in grateful appreciation. At this time, I invite Brooke to come back up. We'll extinguish our flame. I invite you at home to do the same as I give you these words from Brian Keeley. The chalice is now extinguished, but its light lives on in our minds and hearts and souls of each one of you. Carry that light with you as you leave this place, as you leave your home and begin your Thanksgiving holiday. Share the light with those you know, with those you love, and most especially with those you meet along the way. Blessed be. I invite Tuvia to come back up. We're going to sing our peace song, and lively, let's do it, spirited peace song. We're going to have a great time. Do I have the music? What happened to the music? It was up here. Dean, did you take the music sheets with you when you left?
I don't know.
Okay, we need the music sheets.
I hope not, maybe you did.
Maybe you did. We're going to sing the peace song, but as we get prepared for that, I want to remind you today, 5 o'clock Zoom call with Dean Shrock and others, as well as next week, Reverend Bonnie Anderson.
Sorry.
And more than anything, I wish you a very happy Thanksgiving. Be safe, be with friends, call your family, call your kids. Knock on your neighbor's door. Happy Thanksgiving. Tuvia, are you ready?
Got the music.
We got the music.
Snitch.
Thank you, thank you.
Those are mine.
That is yours?
It's a peace song. We're virtually holding hands.
It just feels like we're back together
It
again.
does.
Hopefully soon.
Soon.
Hopefully soon. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with love as our center. Family, all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace. Let there be peace. Let there be peace. Let there be peace.